Hello and welcome back. Sorry about that, some Phyrexian gremlins in the works, but you have not missed anything. Thomas Enevoldsen taking his very first turn against Roberto Togores' Storm deck. He got beaten out fairly quickly in Game 2, turn 1 win from Togores. Turn 1 for him in this game, though, started off with Wasteland into Aether Vial. Here is Gitaxian Probes coming along, so this could be second verse, same as the first here from Roberto Togores. It looks like a second copy of Gitaxian Probe. So Storm Count currently 2. He's fetching a land.
No, I don't think he has it. I saw 2 Lotus Petals and an Infernal Tutor, which made me go, oh wow, but he also has a Cabal Therapy. So no turn 1 kill this time around. We might actually see an actual game of Magic.
I really hope so. So what's going away? Yeah, it's Thalia. That makes sense. Serra Avenger, a couple of copies of Mother of Runes and a Plains. That Aether Vial is going to be able to put a Mother of Runes into play. Wasteland getting rid of Underground Sea. So a couple of mums on turn 2.
Not the fastest clock on the earth, but if it's joined by the Serra Avenger, it could actually be decent. Is Rodrigo going for it on turn 2? No, just a Ponder here.
He's going for something. He's going for a Ponder. Sees a Brainstorm alongside Infernal Tutor and one card that I didn't quite pick out there.
Yeah, he still has Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Land Infernal Tutor, and another Lotus Petal, so he can... I think he can go for something here. He's close to Threshold. That means that he can generate quite a lot of mana with that Cabal Ritual.
And potentially go for it the old-fashioned way with Infernal Tutor, empty his hand just by casting lots of spells. The choke point there normally ends up being lands in hand, but I don't think there's too many in this hand right now for Rodrigo Togores.
No, I think that what Rodrigo's problem is that it looks like any card of the top that he has, he might not be able to empty his hand for that Infernal Tutor. And probably he can't go for Ad Nauseam and Infernal Tutor on the same turn. I don't think he has that much mana. So he can probably set up for a good turn next turn. If that card on his left is the Misty Rainforest, which I think it is. He's making the math here.
Yeah, this is very much the kind of deck that warrants practice. We know that Rodrigo Togores has that practice under his belt already. Gets another copy of Infernal Tutor, and it may be that the first Infernal Tutor is getting another Dark Ritual. Yeah,
or another Cabal Ritual, which actually nets more mana. So I think Rodrigo might try to go for something here. Dark Ritual for 3 mana. Cabal Ritual takes him up to 6. Infernal Tutor for Cabal Ritual gets him to 4, down to 2, up to 7 mana. And then Infernal Tutor with an empty head and Ad Nauseam to go for to try to go for the kill here. But he's only on 14, so it's a little risky. But he could definitely try to go for an Ad Nauseam here, because I don't think he has enough spells for to go for the Tendrils of Agony kills just yet. And you can see he just counted just to make sure. I didn't count the Lotus Petal, so that's actually 1 extra mana, and I think he should go for it here.
Storm is currently 2 because he's used a Lotus Petal and that Ponder.
Yeah, remember we're only in turn 2 now, and he's going for it.
Storm count 3 and 3 black mana in pool. One of these dice, it'll be fairly clear. Okay, so a black germ token, I think that we're going to take to mean black mana here.
Yeah, so going to go for Lotus Petal here.
Storm count 4. Thank you for this, Rodrigo. It makes our life a lot easier, and I'm sure everyone at home feels kind of the same way.
4 black, so going to Infernal Tutor, reveal Cabal Ritual, go for another one.
Conveniently finds it on the bottom of his deck. That saves a little bit of time for us.
Yeah, so
though realistically, his deck might be saving us time just by winning very fast indeed.
2 mana left. He uses that to cast the Cabal Ritual, go up to 5. We'll cast another one to go up to 8. And then he'll play an Infernal Tutor. Goes down to 6. And now he'll be able to find a card. He doesn't have enough spells to cast the Lethal Tendrils of Agony just yet. So he just is going to go for... Oh, okay. He can go the old-fashioned way with one more Infernal Tutor. That's 9, and the Tendrils of Agony is going to be 10. So he doesn't even have to risk going for the Ad Nauseam kill. That was 10 spells there. Tendrils for 20. There's the handshake.
And we hear a little ripple of applause from the other side of the room. Thomas Enevoldsen, understandably, looking a little bit saddened by that. I mean, he knew that there was the potential for that sort of thing to happen, but I don't know that every Storm player would have seen that set of lines to be able to get the kill on turn 2 there. He had a turn 1 and a turn 2, and we're already back in our other match. Alex Hayne against the Miracles deck. He briefly had Winter Orb in play, but Wear Tear has dealt with that one. The question is, will Nicolas Tholance's Miracles deck be able to deal with the threats already on board, those being Young Pyromancer and an Elemental brought by it?
Yeah, and Alex can just go aggressive. Look at that. He has Brainstorm to pick up some more cards. He even has a Lightning Bolt to put on even more pressure. And I assume he's going to wasteland the Tundra from Nicolas Tholance to restrict him further on mana. As you can see, Nicolas only has 2 Snapcaster Mages and a Predict. At least there's one positive thing about Storm doing well. It might lead to a faster tournament because Rodrigo Togores is not messing around. He did think for a while, but he certainly didn't slow roll the kill.
I mean, having a deck that can get that kill and being proficient in finding it on the first or second turn, pretty important if you assume that Miracles is a big part of the metagame, because once Miracles gets a counterbalance in play, it definitely becomes choppy seas for the Storm deck if it's looking to find a way of getting through there.
Alexander Hayne, I wasn't sure what he had in his hand, but he might actually be going for a Gurmag Angler here. He has 6 cards in his graveyard that he can exile to the Angler. He's trying to figure out how much he wants to improve his clock. He actually goes for the Delver because he knows it's going to flip. So that means that it's going to be an actual 2-turn clock with 7 power already on board and doesn't need. He can save up the Angler in case one of his creatures gets dealt with.
So a Predict being cast here, and he's used his Sensei's Divining Top, so he knows what was going to be on top there, able to use it to draw a couple of cards and put the top that was on top in the bin, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, and a good draw too. Finds a Flooded Strain. He didn't forget to draw a card for his turn. We're going to play the Flooded Strain here and drew also a Source of Plowshares that he can use to kill the Young Pyromancer or the Delver.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Ambush Viper mode may be activated on his Snapcaster Mage, jumping into play with Flash in order to block a Young Pyromancer. Lightning Bolt, though, could make that a little bit trickier. Gets revealed to the Delver of Secrets, now transformed into Insectile Aberration.
But I think this is going to prompt the Gurmag Angler from his hand. No matter which creature Nicolas Tholance is going to kill with that Source of Plowshares. He also drops down to 13. Every point of life matters in these sorts of a race situation, and Alex is going to try to go for quite a defensive plan of just Snapcaster Mage, Sword of Plowshares on the following turn, and hope that it's going to stop the bleeding. So if he's going to kill the Young Pyromancer, I assume. Yeah, before the draw phase, yes. So Alexander Hayne still can't play Lightning Bolt to get an extra elemental token. But yeah, so now we're still in the upkeep, looks like. So now Alex thinking if he actually wants to keep that Lightning Bolt, he could shuffle it away with the Misty Rainforest. But I think he's just going to attack for 5 here, put Nicolas down to 8, and save up his Gurmag Angler.
Yeah, I mean, he's representing lethal with that Lightning Bolt on top of the creatures that he has. And if he does cast this Gurmag Angler here, it's a fine time to resolve one. It means that there's a lot of different threats that Nicolas Tholance needs to deal with here if he's just going to stay in this game.
He was going for the miracle there. You can see like he slowly, he put it on the side of the table, really hoping that he would hit a Terminus there. But he's still certainly not out of it. He has 2 alternatives, basically. He can go for Snapcaster Mage, Flashing Back that Swords that he can use to kill off maybe the Insectile Aberration and chump block the Gurmag Angler. But
well, he's going to struggle to chump block because there is that Lightning Bolt in hand for Alex
exactly.
Hayne.
So, yeah, so that's why this is probably not the best path. Even I think Alex could actually allow the chump block as well because the Lightning Bolt would just threaten the life total so much. So, but he is overextended. And if there's a Terminus in the top 3 cards of Nicolas Tholance's deck, it could be a good night for all those creatures on the board.
Very powerful stuff here from Alexander Hayne, really putting the pressure on. And Snapcaster Mage coming in upkeep from Nicolas Tholance. Doesn't want to offer Alexander Hayne any more cards to potentially be able to get him past what's going on the other side of the table.
Yeah, it's a bad spot for Nicolas because he knows about Lightning Bolt, so that makes it tough. He has to kill the Gurmag Anglers. Now he's going to take 4 damage from the from Delver, and at least one elemental getting through. So that means he's going to be in lightning bolt range pretty much. It won't be possible for him to sacrifice a fetch land here if he draws one, unless he gains some life back.
Or feels very confident in his ability to counter that lightning bolt.
Yeah.
There is a counter spell in his hand.
He has another Snapcaster Mage into Swords to Plowshares there. Gonna go for the Delver this time. Well, the Insectile Aberration. No days from Alexander Hayne.
I feel like we need to start referring to Snapcaster Mage as Mr. Plow. That's his name. That name again is Mr. Plow.
Yeah, I know that reference. Sick reference, bro.
So now Alexander Hayne needs to think about his attacks a little bit. I mean, I guess that he's always going to be able to trade with this token because there's the Lightning Bolt going on. Chooses to actually keep his creature in play, kills the Snapcaster Mage with Lightning Bolt, attacks Tholance down to 3 and passes things back.
Yeah, but nothing to deal with the 1/1 elemental just yet. Lots of card drawing. And it's about time that Nicolas Tholance gets to use the Sensei's Divining Top or the Brainstorm alternatively.
So dig with Brainstorm. Sees a Monastery Mentor.
Ooh,
that is a nice one.
Yeah, it's great. Especially if he has any way to protect it. And ideally, at this point doesn't matter if he's on 3 or on 2, so he could easily just fetch away something. He actually doesn't seem to like the Monastery Mentor. He looks like to have a different plan.
I mean, there's so many different things to be scared of at this point. He's in that position where fairly soon his decisions are going to be made very easy because there's only one decision that's going to be able to keep him alive. But for now, there's a tiny bit of wiggle room, and he's going to use that room where he can. Passes things back with counter mana up so that hopefully, at worst, all that's going to happen to him is he's going to take 1 damage from an elemental here.
Yeah, but he has no reason to panic just yet. Of course, like going from 3 to 2, it just means that you're going to be able to sack 1 fetch land less. But by playing this way, he can use the Sensei's Divining Top, still keep that counterspell up, and look at that. He found a basic land, Monastery Mentor, and there's also Swords to Plowshares that he could use. So he's just going to untap into land and... just Monastery Mentor?
Well, it's Monastery Mentor where now he's able to play a Brainstorm to make another Monk token. So this way round, he's got a little bit of extra flexibility compared to what he would have had last term if he just played the Monk on its own.
I didn't like this play. If I was in Nicolas' shoes, I would have probably drawn the Swords to Plowshares, killed that, keep up counterspell mana, and the following turn play my land, play Monastery Mentor, and keep counterspell up again. He's now risking to. Okay. I hope he didn't play 2 lands this turn.
I don't think that he did that because last turn he tapped his top. And
yeah, true.
This turn he's not been doing so much.
Yeah. So he's actually in a fine spot, and I'm sure he's a much better player than I am. So, Nicolas Tholance, what can he do here? He has the Swords to Plowshares, and he can finally get on the scoreboard. Okay. Okay, so he used it in his upkeep. Draw an extra card. He's going to replay it again. So he's going for the Sensei's Divining Top shenanigans, trying to get as many monks as possible, pump them up as well.
This is our count on prowess, I think, here.
Swords to Plowshares, kill your Deathrite Shaman. So prowess again, add another monk to the board.
Hayne's life total right now, pretty gigantic, but it's always impressive to me how quickly Monastery Mentor can deal with a high life total.
And now he has 2 blockers for the elemental and counterspell mana up, and can still use the top. So the way he played is actually better than I would, and I'm not surprised. Miracles is a really hard deck to play.
Yeah, there's 2 extra monk tokens just lurking off the top of our screen there. I think that basically Tholance kind of keen to make sure that the ones that are summoning sick are good and far apart from the ones that aren't. I'm sure that once they untap, they'll get moved down a little bit so we can see the full extent of the impressiveness of Nicolas Tholance's board. There we go.
Yep, more of the same shenanigans with the Sensei's Divining Top, and it looks like Nicolas Tholance is nearing lethal here.
Yeah, because all of those monk tokens now 2/2s. The Monastery Mentor itself a 3/3.
Yeah, he can keep drawing. It basically is something like drawing an extra card, just because that's how he uses the Sensei's Divining Top. He's drawing card. Yeah, he's just using it to get the extra prowess triggers and the extra monks. But I know the chat keeps screaming he played 2 lands, but I'm not 100% about that. As Alex drops down to 11 from that attack. And I assume next turn is going to be lethal.
So painful truths coming here from Alex Hayne. He does still just have the 2 damage to deal, and this is an interesting test spell. It meets a Flusterstorm from Nicolas Tholance. Another monk coming into play here.
So that gets countered.
And the top being spun once more. Terminus is now an option, but it's probably not an option that Nicolas Tholance actually cares too much about. He's the one with all the creatures on the board and pretty much threatening lethal here. He doesn't take too many spells to be able to get there.
Yeah, thinking about what would get Alexander Hayne out of the situation would be something like a sudden shock, but I haven't seen that card in Legacy. But we did see some split second cards.
Yeah, Sulfur Elemental would be a good one for him. It's not counterable. It's got split second. It would deal with all of those monks.
Yeah.
As things stand, though, I think that it's going to work out that Nicolas Tholance able to square things up here against Alexander Hayne, thanks to a whole school of monk tokens.
So let's see if he has enough things in his hand that he can play to go for the lethal there. It's only for 10 for now, but he's going to play wear and tear on his own since he's divining top. And there's the game for Nicolas Tholance. Got it back. Alexander Hayne bricked a couple of times on his draws and just couldn't finish the game off from the 2 life of Nicolas Tholance. I like the way that he didn't panic. You know, Nicolas was going from 3 to 2, but he was doing really well to set up his board position in such a way that he would be able to finish off that game. And look at that, Alexander Hayne saw the success of his lightning bolts in this game. It would have another one would have won in the game. He's just putting 2 back in rather.
Yeah, he's going to be aggressive in this last one. I mean, this is the time where potentially for each of these players, they know that they may only have one more game of Magic left in them in this tournament. Whoever wins this one is going to be advancing to the final against Storm. So a very different matchup to what we've got going on here.
Oh, yeah.
And each of these players just making the spot adjustments they need, which may partly be predicated on the fact that now it's going to be Alexander Hayne who's on the play here. And his is the deck that can potentially sneak an early victory just by getting some threats on the board and protecting them.
Yeah, definitely. I think both players should give us a very interesting match in the finals. Both are Force of Will decks. They both have some cards that can deal with storms, such as they both have Fluster Storms in their deck, and you know, sometimes all these counter spells really help you put the game away. And of course, counterbalance top against a deck trying to use 0, 1, and 2 man casting cost cards to their advantage is certainly not a bad way to set yourself up.
So Alexander Hayne, he did travel all the way across from Canada. He said that, you know what, the face-to-face games guys are going to be here. I've got a few friends that are going to be here. I'm going to be able to stay with a teammate in Prague. And I've never been to Prague before. You know what? Let's do it. Legacy's a format that Alexander Hayne very comfortable with. Last time he came across to Europe to play in a Legacy GP, he did make the top 8. He's done it again. And this time round, he may even make it to the finals. I believe it was the semi-finals that he exited last time. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can go at least one better here.
Yeah, he did lose to Jacob Wilson, his teammate, who was playing the exact same deck list as he was. But ultimately, Alex Haynes lost to Jacob, and then Jacob lost in the finals to Thomas Enevoldsen, who just got eliminated. Funnily enough, funny story about Alexander Hayne, who told me he played 3 Legacy events in Europe, and he top-8'd all 3. 2 of them being GPs, and one of them being a Bazaar of Moxen event that he came to play the week before that one of those GPs.
So one way or another, Alexander Hayne putting on a bit of a show when it comes to Legacy. Sometimes when we think about pro players, Legacy isn't kind of top of mind for them because there aren't as many opportunities to play Legacy and earn pro points. But quietly, Alexander Hayne does seem to have a bit of a flair for this format.
Oh, definitely. And he also mentioned that he felt that in Europe, when he's playing these aggressive Delver decks, that people don't respect them as much as they do in the US. Where he plays some Legacy events as well. So he certainly was happy to sleeve up such a version of his Grixis Delver deck, and said the metagame suited him pretty well.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point you make there, Matej. That we do see some regional differences when it comes to the sorts of decks that people choose. I know that in Japan there's a lot more players that are very keen on the sneak and show decks with Omniscience and so on. That was ultimately what Tomohiro Saito brought to this event.
Actually, he didn't. He played Eldrazi in this one. He changed it up. He wanted to play. He wanted to play the Omniscience, but he did play Eldrazi.
That's very interesting because I spoke to him on the Thursday and he seemed dead set. He'd got a deck from one of the Legacy Masters over in Japan. It's interesting that he made that last-minute change there.
Yeah, I was surprised as well because it seemed like a deck he would be wanting to play. But yeah, let's get back to our semifinals here. And is that a turn 1 Delver? It is.
Both players keeping on 7, and there's a host of answers in hand for Nicolas Tholance here. He doesn't necessarily need to wait around and does play a Swords to Plowshares.
No hesitation.
But a daze immediately coming from Alex Hayne, who has a Painful Troops to flip the Delver. We know that there is another Swords to Plowshares in Nicolas Tholance's hand, but if nothing else, Alexander Hayne's going to be gaining a little bit of extra mana on the attacks if the second Swords to Plowshares does resolve.
Yeah, Nicolas Tholance. Now he has 2 more Swords to Plowshares, and he looked like he was quite happy about having drawn that land. So I'm not sure if he has a 3rd one just yet. Spell piercing that. Yeah, Alexander Hayne having that disruption. Nicolas Tholance saving his Scalding Target. He could have gone for a Tundra there.
I think that because he's got some deck manipulation, he's willing to take a little bit of a hit here, just in order to make the most of the shuffle effect that he's going to get from the Scalding Tarn.
Right, he did have a 3rd land there, Tundra hiding in the back, but now he's going to try for the Swords to Plowshares again. This time it resolves. It's exactly the hand you want, especially on the draw, heavy on Swords to Plowshares, and now also will be able to ponder his way into some decent cards. And let's see if Alex actually has some more pressure to follow up, because I think I saw Painful Truths in his hand, but I'm not sure if he has a 3rd land.
Yeah, 3rd time the charm there for that Swords to Plowshares, and now the sculpting of hands begins in earnest. I mean, on both sides of things, really, both of these decks do have a lot of ways of adjusting what they've got going on with 1 mana blue spells to interact with the top of their decks.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Nicolas would snap off the Painful Truths with one of the Flusterstorm that he has in his hand and forego any of the deck manipulation for now.
I think he also has a Snapcaster Mage, so if he needs more Swords to Plowshares, he's going to be able to do so.
Yeah, he's going to go for it here, though. Sex the Scalding Tarn. I assume he's going to fetch a Tundra or a Volcanic Island here.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the biggest spells in Alexander Hayne's deck in terms of getting up on cards. He's got lots of ways of getting card selection, but few ways of actually getting full-on card advantage.
Yes.
So basic island fetched here, and are we going to see some counter magic? It seems kind of likely.
So Flusterstorm. Nicolas Tholance will be able to really live up to that Mr. Plow reference from early, because 3 in his graveyard and some more with his Snapcaster Mages. I wonder how many he could cast during a game if he really tried to.
I mean, when you start counting the number of threats in Alexander Hayne's deck, it may work out very favorably. He's got some very powerful threats once they get going, but in terms of raw numbers, there aren't that many, and it may well be that Nicolas Tholance can sort of gradually grind things out here and get a large proportion of what threats at least Alexander Hayne has drawn and dealt with, thanks to all of these Swords to Plowshares.
More lands for Nicolas, though. We've got more Snapcaster Mages and Brainstorms. He's in decent shape here against the Delver, even though he's only on 13 from those early Delver hits.
Yeah, it's an unusual game. I mean, typically with control decks, making your land drop every turn feels great. I mean, in this particular matchup, at some point, he's just going to want a bit more in terms of action.
Yeah. 4th, plow count, 5.
I like it.
And now he's the guy that is pressuring with 4 power of creatures against an empty board. Alexander Hayne had to shuffle away the card from top of his library because it wasn't an instant sorcery. So, I mean, he just couldn't flip his Delver, and even if he did, it would have just died here. And he has basically just 1 card in his hand. All that early pressure and those dazes and spell pierce just were for naught, it seems.
Yeah, that 21 life is not going to last all too long here, because Snapcaster Mage is going to actually get to attack in this time.
Yeah, and it's good. They're gonna chip away slowly, and that ponder now, if Nicolas finds something like Sensei's Divining Top, or maybe like even like a counterspell could be enough at this point. Yep, there we go.
There's the top, and Alex Hayne really leaning on what he can draw off the top of his deck here. Finds a Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, it seems a little too late here for Alexander Hayne.
Yeah, now that the top's going, the Miracles deck is going to have much smoother draws than those of Alexander Hayne here. And that means that, given that he's already ahead on board, Nicolas Tholance is potentially going to be able to lock things up. He's got cards in hand but doesn't need to use them. He can just get stuck in. And this is kind of what the Grixis Delver deck wants to be doing, getting a creature on the board and then sitting back with mana up.
Yeah. Yeah, we got now LSV in the chat, who rightly pointed out a couple of turns before where Nicolas played the Source of Plowshares on the Delver in the upkeep. He should have done it on his turn, just to not even allow Alexander Hayne to scry basically for free thanks to his fetch land. So yeah, thanks for pointing it out, and happy to see Luis in the chat as always. If he's not on camera for a weekend, I'm happy to have him in the chat for support.
We'll take that,
of course. Nice. That's a good card.
Yeah, Young Pyromancer not going to be able to be stopped by the Flusterstorm in Nicolas Tholance's hand. The big question, of course, being, will it work out that there's some spells in the future for Alexander Hayne in order to make a few elemental tokens? There's a Wear Tear, a Brainstorm, and a land on top for Nicolas Tholance that he sees with the Sensei's Divining Top, activates that kind of briskly, draws the Volcanic Island, and then proceeds to cast a Brainstorm.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if we saw the last copy of Source of Plowshares drawn for Nicolas. Already having 3 early and 2 Snapcaster Mages as well is just brutal.
Yeah, there's one more Snapcaster Mage, one more Swords to Plowshares in the deck. I wouldn't put it past it to happen at some point. I mean, between Fetch Land Shuffles and Sensei's Divining Top, Brainstorm, etc., there are lots of opportunities to cast many of them. But Alexander Hayne says, get out of there, Swords to Plowshares number 3. I want to at least make sure that Snapcaster Mage doesn't mean that there's going to be more removal from you. You're going to have to draw that last copy the old-fashioned way. Yeah,
Nicolas Tholance just swinging. He wants to take it to the races here. He does have a Ponder on top of his library, double Brainstorm as well as a Flusterstorm in his hand, so he'll be able to still see quite a few cards here.
Another Brainstorm.
He's a digging. Now he's gonna. So he put back 2 cards that he didn't want. Now he's gonna ponder. I assume he will shuffle. Yeah, the 3rd card from the bottom was Flooded Strand. So he's gonna look at a new set of cards. First, of course, he's gonna draw off the ponder, meaning that in total he's going to see 4 new cards. But certainly, it will be hard finding a Source of Plowshares. But he has plenty of good cards that he can draw into.
It would be a stretch to say that he absolutely needs one right now. It'd certainly just be nice to be able to get rid of the Young Pyromancer before it's been able to achieve too much.
Yeah. I think he's playing here. He's going for the Jugular there. So goes for Lightning Bolt here, trying to get an extra creature on the battlefield. And now Nicolas might be regretting the attack with the Snapcaster Mages, because he's going to drop down to 8 himself with that Deathrite Shaman mana up as well. So Alexander Hayne is certainly not out of it just yet. He recovered nicely thanks to that Young Pyromancer.
Yeah, cards in hand on both sides, though you'd have to assume, just sort of without knowing anything about the contents of either player's hand, that Nicolas Tholance must have some pretty good card quality just based on all of these effects that he's been able to play here. Sees a counter spell and a couple of other cards there that he's just trying to figure out the best order for with his Sensei's Divining Top. And draws into, I think that's the 3rd Snapcaster Mage. Though Snapcaster Mage with an active Deathrite Shaman, not quite as exciting.
It looks like Nicolas actually is now getting into a bit of a rough shape, because as he used all the Source of Plowshares, now the Deathrite Shaman presents a significant problem, and he just keeps drawing more card drawing. On top of his library, he had some Snapcaster, some counter spells with the Snapcaster in hand as well now. But he just can keep going, and he's just going aggressive. Look at that. swinging with the Snapcaster Mages again. I think, honestly, like the way he was like using his cards, he seems a little nervous at least.
Well, I mean, the fact that he's got another Snapcaster Mage that he can flash in to block young Pyromancer does kind of add a little bit of weight to this play of being a little bit more aggressive. What we're going to see here is end of turn, Deathrite Shaman activating. And this, if anything, is the time where Nicolas Tholance may want to use his Snapcaster Mage. Goes for the Brainstorm.
There's the Terminus.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, that would explain. I don't think he knew about the Terminus. But now with him tapping out in such a way, he might be risking getting blown out by some sort of counterspell from Alexander Hayne. So it goes down to 6. Exiles a Ponder. Snapcaster Mage also gets much worse if there's a Deathrite Shaman on the board. You can always exile what you target for flashback.
And a big lightning bolt here.
Yeah.
The token is the easy bit, and it looks like Nicolas Tholance lets that lightning bolt do its thing. Just 3 life.
And now he's forced to use that Terminus because Alexander's Hayne card was a lightning bolt here. So, yeah, there's the Terminus. And Alex will use Deathrite Shaman in response, put Nicolas down to 1. But we've seen Nicolas recover from a very low life total before.
Yeah, parting shot there from Deathrite Shaman, leaving Tholance on just a single life. So every fetch land now a dead draw. Those tokens going away for good. The rest of the creatures going on the bottom of the deck.
Another Deathrite Shaman and a lightning bolt. Nothing just yet. And we also know Nicolas does have the counterspell in his hand. Just like last game, he did have the counterspell mana amp, so being on 1 is still fine. And remember, he also has a Snapcaster Mage in his hand that he can use for pressure.
Yeah, only 3 Snapcaster Mage hits needed in order to finish things off. Alexander Hayne wanting to force the issue, though. Casts a Brainstorm here, looking for action.
Yeah, tough choices for Nicolas here. Does he want a counterspell here? No, he does not. He's going to leave it in his hand, and Alexander Hayne gets to see 3 new cards that we don't get to see just yet.
Yeah, Alex choosing to keep it exciting for everybody. We get a little look over the shoulder, though, and we can see a Winter Orb and a Gitaxian Probe. Gitaxian Probe, a dangerous proposition here. Can't quite make out what the card at the back of his hand is there.
I see, there's a Winter Orb, Gitaxian Probe, Wasteland. Of days, yeah, not very good in this spot.
And Alex, at least in principle, as far as he's concerned, does have a little bit more flexibility about still using fetch lands. We've spoken about how Brainstorm, one of the harder cards to resolve in the format, because you suddenly get access to so much more information and actually have quite a few different choices to make all in one go. It looks like Alex finally figuring out what he wants to do. The Winter Orb here, not super exciting as Tholance not exactly tapped down too low. Alex Hayne uses the Wasteland to deal with Volcanic Island, keeping red mana out the way so that at least in principle, if that Winter Orb resolves at some point, there's not going to be just the easy mana up for Werther. Yeah,
exactly. The top card of Nicolas' library is not great. Force of Will that he can't use paying the alternative cost, a fetch land and a Tundra, I think, but he'll be happy with either one.
Well, I mean, the fetch land doing not anything at all. The Force of Will is a 5 mana cancel.
Yeah.
Winter Orb getting countered by good old-fashioned counterspell there, and just enough mana to spin the top. He already knows what's on top. He just
doesn't need to.
It's just habit at that point. When you've got the mana, you might as well use it. Tense times here for both players. Alex Hayne able to sacrifice a fetch land. We know that at some point a Snapcaster Mage may come down to swing in for 2. So Alex Hayne has kind of shortened his clock there.
Yeah, Snapcaster Mage also allows him to recast the counterspell. So if Alexander Hayne actually taps out for something here, I think Nicolas will go straight for the Snapcaster counterspell.
And it's tough for Alex Hayne to fully tap out here. With 5 mana, he doesn't really have too much in his deck that he's going to want to tap down, even particularly low on. Pays the full retail for Gitaxian Probe because he wants to know what's going on.
And this is tough. In Nicolas' place, I would go for the Snapcaster Mage and and play the counterspell here because he knows he has the Force of Will on top, and even a 5-mana cancel is a cancel with Alexander Hayne having no cards and him having 2-turn clock. So I think Nicolas Tholance might be winning this from the brink of death again in 2 games in a row.
And there's the handshake. Nicolas Tholance finds a way through. Just a fantastic finish there. It's always exciting when you've got one player on one life for so long. Finds a way of pulling it back, but that's the end of our last semi-final. We're going to be moving across to our finals match very, very shortly. But I'm going to head down to the feature match area to see if I can get an interview with one of our finalists before we do things here. So thank you for everything, the semi-finals, and stay tuned because the final is going to be starting very shortly indeed.
Friday Night Magic is your local Magic hangout where everyone is welcome. Gather your friends at your favorite game store every Friday night. For more info, visit magic.wizards.com/FNM. Discover Legacy with Magic Online and the Legacy Gauntlet. Assemble your Legacy deck with Eternal Masters events. Conquer the Legacy Festival Championship. For more information on the Magic Online Legacy celebration, visit mtgo.com.